All information given in this episode is for educational purposes and should not be tried prior to consulting a licensed physician and or certified state or accrediting bodies. We encourage all listeners to research, talk, and make all inquiries to all of the important professionals and governing bodies before acting on any information heard on the De La Fit podcast. Any action taken by any listener is done by and under their own omission and action, whether conscious to the results positive or not.
Tuned in to the De La Fit podcasts, 360 degrees of holistic fitness and health, all in one podcast.
Salutations and proclamations. It is I, it is you, it is us, it is we. Together we make up the digital family that is the De La Fit podcast. I'm your host, Philly's #1 son, aka the body alchemist Sun Moon Bay, bringing you another podcast excursion. Welcome one and all, everybody. It is January the 22nd, 2021. We have entered the first week of a new President of the United States. That's right, President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris are our new commanders in chief for the United States. And you know, it's been an interesting change and shift where we're not pretty much a political show, although I will say that we are a fitness show, and I've always talked that or discussed the fact that we are a 360 fitness and health show, because everything evolves and revolves around fitness and health. It makes no difference what it is. Fitness is not just protein shakes and barbell plates. But I want to discuss this because into our mental health, it has been quite a interesting situation that the country of the United States has been going through. The switch over has, I think, it's I don't want to say it's been easy, but I feel as though there is still a lot of unrest and unsettlement within the country. And in truth, it is. There is a lot of unsettled and anxiety and just angst that is going through the entire country at this time, even though we have now switched over to another president and vice president. I want to say that the inauguration was, I think, very, very fitting, very respectful, and very representative of the positive and respect that the United States of America, what the country can exude, which is a respect for life, humanity, and to be the best that you can, and reflecting on those that have lost their lives due to COVID or just due to all types of situations. I just think that it was just a humongous reflection, and I don't want to say I guess we could say a celebration, but an honoring of a lot of the things that have taken place within the recent years and also in the past. So I felt that the inauguration was kind of an homage to that. And I give full respect to the new commander-in-chief. As they always say, out with the old, in with the new. So, you know, Trump is no longer the president of the United States. He is now living in Florida as a citizen. And, I mean, what else can we say? You know, I'm not going to get into what was what I believe is done wrong and political ideology and things of that nature. I'm just going to say that, again, out with the old, in with the new situation, new thinking, I won't say new direction, but progressing in a positive direction. Not to say that there wasn't any positive progression, but I think there was a lot of confusion. I think there was a lot of misdirection. I think there was a lot of unclarity. And again, for those that tune into the podcast, 2020 was the year of clarity. So with that being said, it's just a lot going on, whether in politically, whether culturally, I think the lines have been drawn perhaps a lot clearer as to what will be accepted and what won't be accepted, that the old ways of thinking are definitely coming to an end. Separation is coming to an end. People do not want to be separated. We are physically separated right now, so the hell with being mentally separated. And we can always disagree. That's part of our individuality. I think it's foolish to think that we are to be all together and kumbaya and agree on everything. That's just not how it's going to be. It doesn't matter who you are, where you come from, what culture. You're not going to agree on everything. But the premise of the United States as a whole is that you can agree to disagree and still have civility. And that's the biggest thing of all, Now, the thing of it is that to make sure that everybody is afforded the things that allow them to act as a citizen. Because when you have a segment of society that is in survival mode, it is very difficult to act civil. So that's the thing, and that's where we need to focus on. But so much going on with that. Kudos to Kamala Harris being the first woman vice president. Truly an outstanding achievement. Again, I think there's just the positives when it comes to how far we've come as a society. The first woman to be an official in the Super Bowl. There will be the first woman referee or to officiate a Super Bowl this coming year. So that's going to be something amazing as well. And I think as we keep pushing and progressing and leaving the old ways, which in a sense, in my personal belief, is really returning to the original ways. Because if you look at history is not as separated, or I should say culturally, we're not as separated as we would like to believe. It is perpetuated in the, I'll say, neo-Western world that we live in, neo-modern world within the last 200 years. I know that might seem to people like that's not really new, but when you think ancient civilizations, there has always been a intermingling of cultures. There has always been marriage between many different cultures and societies and tribes and clans. So to have this mentality that it's us and them, there is an us and them. There is a positive just like there is a negative, but to focus that in a very narrow mindset of I don't even know how to put it. I don't want to say just a good and evil, because I do believe there is a negative and there's a positive, but to classify specific groups as they're the greater evil and they're the greater good, that's not true, because that's just not how the Creator created us. There's so much that comes into humanity. Anyway, we got a great show for you today. We're going to be talking about Toxic Masculinity and Toxic Femininity. I know, did I say it correctly? Femininity. I know for many people out there, they're like, wait, there's a toxic femininity? Well, we're going to be getting a little bit into that. We've got back with us today the host of Sacred Radio, the host of Sacred Lotus Radio, Sacred Lotus herself. She's going to be joining us, and we're going to have a great conversation about toxic masculinity and toxic femininity, what it does, how we can be aware of it, and just some of the things that we experience. It's going to be a great show. I'm very excited, and I think that you're going to enjoy it. So let's get into this show right after these important messages from our sponsors.
What's going on, everybody? It's Philly's #1 son. Listen, if you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free. There's a creation tool that allows you how to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a stunning podcast in one place. So listen, if you want to be like me and have your own podcast, go to anchor.com. That's anchor.com.
De La Fit Podcast is sponsored by Mountain Made CBD. Mountain Made is changing the CBD game by offering a line of high-dose CBD tablets at an affordable price. Their products are THC-free and third-party tested for accuracy, cleanliness, and potency. Their products, which ship nationwide, include Build for CBD saturation, Boost for precision titration, Recovery for rest and rehab. With 9 years experience in hemp and fitness, Mountain Made's founders are focused on creating a quality product to help those who live an activated lifestyle. Check out www.mountainmade.life to find out more about how their products can help you crush life. Remember, their products ship nationwide. Go check out their website today and follow them on social media at MNTMADE. I started using Mountain Made's Build CBD tablets to help me with the injury in my elbow. And let me tell you something, not only is the injury subsided, but now I can do push-ups and I'm back to bench pressing. So I encourage anybody who's interested to look up, check out Mountain Made and all their products. I think you'll be glad you did.
Welcome back, everybody, to the 360 Degrees of Holistic Fitness and Health that is the De La Fit Podcast. Today, as you can see, we are back in the studio. That's right. We have finally got back in here after months and months of being in quarantine and pandemic and not being able to go out. And yeah, you can go out, but you can't touch people. But now you can high five people, but you got to have your fists closed when you high five people. Instead of high fiving people, why don't you just, tap their foot with your foot and then it's simple. So after months long of dealing with all that, we're back in the studio. We have what I think is going to be a very interesting show today. We're going to be talking about what is toxic masculinity, or rather the topic of toxic masculinity and feminine toxic femininity. I'm sorry guys. It's been a lot. It's been a long day. And
same here.
Today is the returning guest, Sacred Lotus from Sacred Lotus Radio. She is joining us, and we're just going to get into it. And we talked about this a little bit yesterday.
Yes, we did.
And the conversation was, I would say, very passionate one, if I'm not correct. It was a very passionate conversation that we both had. So one of the things I want to start discussing is the fact of, let's deal with this thing of toxic masculinity. All right, so Wikipedia has it, toxic masculinity, 3 behaviors or beliefs behind the phenomenon of toxic masculinity are suppressing emotions or making distress, maintaining an appearance of hardness, violence as an indicator of power. Right. Now, these are something that I for what I see here, I can agree with. But one thing I want to know about, or one thing I rather want to have these discussions about, is the fact of, as a man, I feel sometimes that we get, I don't want to say the short end of the stick. I don't want to say that at all, because I believe that we put ourselves at the end of this stick a lot of times. All right. So I definitely want to put that out there. But social media, I have found, is not a good help. And one thing that I've noticed, and I don't know about you, Sacred Lotus, is the fact of I'll just deal with the memes. They're always very, very feminine friendly, in the sense of worship your woman, praise your woman, and she will make you better. Now, I'm not saying that I don't believe that putting into your significant other, and since we're talking about, we're going to say the relationship between men and women, so we're going to stay within that realm.
Right.
Not saying that putting into your significant other, your woman, as a man, is not bad. But what I do feel is that a lot of times is that when we see these things, it's very heavily geared to the women.
Absolutely.
And in this day and age where we're talking about inclusivity and equality, all these other things, what I find is that it's not very true, the images that are being shown. So my question is, what do you think about that? How do you feel about that from the woman's point of view?
Well, no, I agree. Like you stated earlier, we already spoke about, you stated how sometimes the man can put himself at the end of the stick, but I am guilty of reposting some of those memes as in the benefit of the woman. Even when it's speaking about wanting a great man, even speaking about what to do to get a great man, it always seems to benefit her, and so we post these memes and we get like thousands and thousands of shares and likes on them because, again, it benefits us, and always talks about if he's not doing this right, leave him, or it promotes the woman, her self-healing and her self-worth, what she needs to do to find a better man, and to me personally, and I know this for a fact, when I see these memes, it does kind of benefit towards her. It's not many out there that talks about what he should do to attract a better type of woman, because we both know, whether man or woman, women have their issues as well that affect a lot of men. So I don't see many of those memes. So when you look at them, it's like, hey, everything is just talks about, if you were to just look at the memes and never really dealt with anyone, didn't have relationships, you would just think that, okay, this is a place to go for women only to find out how to get a better man or how to walk away from him. So I will have to agree with that part. So
let me ask you this. Why, in your opinion, do you think that many of the memes that are put out there, or much of the conversation in social media, is geared, when it comes to relationships between men and women, more so towards the woman?
We're talking about social media, right?
We are talking about social media.
Social media, the answer is, to me, that's easy. You get more clicks. For instance, I'm not dropping names here, but I know several of, I guess you would call them motivational speakers, inspirational speakers, who are men who have thousands and hundreds of nothing but women followers. So they only really talk about what to do, what not to do. They will hint on men here and there, but even their message to me, it seems like it's geared towards women. So to answer your question, it is because women, let's be honest here, we're emotional. Men are too, but we're emotional, you know. We're more internal. And so when we read these memes, it makes us feel better about ourselves. So we share them with our homegirls, our co-workers, like, girl, look at this, you know. Next thing you know, you have a post that has close to 300 likes in 15 minutes. So to me, it's geared towards women for that reason. And we can go even deeper when it comes down to the business aspect of some of these platforms that we're on. Because typically, even when I post the memes, men don't really click on them. They may like here and there. They're not going to comment. You may have 1 or 2 comments, 3 at the most. But if you go to my Instagram right now and you look, it's nothing but women. And I am very mindful of, I have moments where I speak for women, and I have moments where I'll post things about men, like, hey, listen, women, this is what we should do, or just uplifting men. Even still, most of the comments are women. So it
Now, I have a question about that, because you said the word uplifting men.
Yes.
And this is something I noticed, and I've noticed this for a long time. I've noticed that it seems that when women begin to uplift men or do things that is acknowledging the positives of a man, all right, and we're talking more specifically within the Afro-Caribbean culture. That's something
Absolutely.
that you and I both know about very, very closely.
Very well.
There seems to be a feeling of I don't want to say discontent, but a feeling of they are not worthy of that. And that bothers me. All right. And I want to ask you about that, but I want to talk about why that bothers me. It bothers me because a large portion of the young children, period, being raised in the Afro-Caribbean culture, are being raised by women.
Absolutely.
And I have had conversations with individuals, with friends, with coworkers, and we've gotten into debates where it comes to, okay, well, we're going to have a club and it's a girls' club. And everybody's like, yay! And I'm like, okay, well, let's make sure that we do the best and we'll have a boys' club. Everything is a boys' club. I'm like, okay.
Right.
Sexism. Women go through sexism. Women deal with sexual harassment. It takes place. Men, we deal with sexual harassment and sexism. But when it's spoken about, it's, yeah, but who's really going to harass you? Now, these are other women that I've seen that bring this type of mentality. And this is something that really, really frightens me, because they particularly are raising the young men.
Absolutely.
And if you're raising children, I found that you cannot raise, how do I say it? If you're going to raise a child, you have to raise them in a balanced manner.
Absolutely.
Right. Now, of course, that is what a lot of people say, that's ideal, son, but it's not, what happens most of the time. But I'm very fearful, because a lot of these young men that are being raised, they're not seeing tyrannical figures of men pushing down women. They're being raised by very strong women. So,
absolutely.
What do we do with this type of mentality?
That is a broad question. I'm going to answer that question. But as people, as an individual, as a woman, you have to really, and this is what my platform is about owning who you are, embracing your voice to eventually heal any childhood traumas that you may have internally. Because what I have learned is if they're not addressed, at least, because healing is a process, we know that. If they're not at least owned and addressed, it can affect your adult life. And then if you have children, it's just a cycle that never ends. So to me, as an individual, you really have to address your eternal issues, any childhood traumas, and you have to be honest with yourself. Something that is you would think is so easy to do isn't. It's called accountability. And I don't know if the part of it is an ego, because it hurts. I've had time when I had to really just say, Lotus, just say procrastination. You procrastinate too much. If you want to be successful in certain areas, or you want to show your son, because I have a son, he's 9, to become the best kid he can ever be, how can you teach him that if you are constantly procrastinating? So there comes a time you have to own accountability in who you are. Now, when you have children, and for instance, for myself, I have a son. My father wasn't there. My mom and my father married, but they divorced at an early age. I had lots of father figures growing up, but I didn't have that in-house father figure. So I was raised by nothing but very strong Afro-Caribbean women. Very strong. These women came up in the 30s, 40s, 50s. You understand, So I was taught how to never depend on a man for anything. Even though they taught me how to be domesticated, catering, all those things, I was taught, don't wait for no man to do anything for you. You need to take care of it. Take care of it on your own and go from there. Now, when it comes down to my son, being that we don't have that in-house there to be with him every day to kind of shape him and, like you stated, make it more balanced. It wasn't until recently, I wouldn't say about maybe 6 to 8 months ago, where I finally said, okay, in order for me to give him a better upbringing, what I can't do, I have to assign it to somebody else that I trust, that can shape that for me. Talk about sexism. He's getting to a point where he's starting to be curious about certain things. We haven't had that conversation yet. But when I have that conversation with him, I have to give him a very balanced outcome when it comes down to that. It can't just be strictly from my eyes or from a woman's experience. Yes, little boys, men, they can be raped, they can be touched. Mm-hmm. And they don't speak about it because they're taught that if you do this, you're lesser than a man, or you're not a boy, you're going to be judged as a girl. It's not right. So God forbid it. I hope that never happens to him, but I have to have that conversation with him and explain to him, if this happens, you are just as better as a kid, as a boy, as a man, as any other man. It doesn't make you any lesser. However, this is your body. No one has the right to touch you in that manner. And it is very important that you alert officials, if he's older, or alert your parents. So we have to be really honest with ourselves, and we can't be bitter. And we have to understand that even though these are our children, these children belong to the world. They have their own identity. They're going to go away. They're going to grow up one day. So you can't teach them everything that you think was right, that you were taught. Because let's be honest, what our elders and what our parents might have taught us, all those things wasn't right.
Hey everyone, we hope that you're enjoying the interview thus far. We'd just like to take some quick time out to remind everybody to like, follow, share, and subscribe. With every like, follow, share, and subscription, it helps the De La Fit podcast to grow. And the more we grow, the more information we can bring to you, the listener. So please, take some time out, like, follow, share, and subscribe. Thank you.
I have to agree. I have to agree with that. I actually had a conversation with my older brother not too long ago, and we were really talking about my father was born in the tail end of 39.
Yes.
So a lot it's a lot of things that I find about that generation is a great deal of strength. And this just with the entire generation, not even specifically a specific culture, but just in that generation, a tremendous amount of strength. What I do not appreciate, well, I won't say appreciate, what I think is a hindrance or something that in this day and age isn't the best or can be more balanced is the fact of back then, it seems as though there was an idea of, you live and die by your boots.
That's correct.
I believe this is what it is, and this is how we're going to go about it. Not a bad thing. Unfortunately, though, it seems that many of that generation didn't maybe have the access to as much information as we have. So, correct. And even when they find it, it's like, so what? I'm still here. I'm dug in, but you're dug into the wrong thing. You know
Absolutely.
What I mean? So it's like
Absolutely
fighting and pulling teeth. And they're like, even though they're like, no, this is how it is. You're like, no, It's really not.
It's really not.
Same
with my family. It's really not. Yeah.
I find that dealing with relationships between men and women, like if I talk to my uncles, sometimes I literally, this is not a lie. I'll never forget. I was sitting down with both of my uncles and they were both giving me advice about women. And I'm just glad that I had enough sense that my parents put in me to realize when somebody was telling me bullshit, because they would have told, if I'd have believed the stuff that they did, oh my God, I'd have got hurt. I'd have got hurt or I'd have gotten some poor girl pregnant. All right, because this is this nonsense that they believe. But I realize how many there are just as many people that believe in certain nonsense. I want to say certain information, on both sides of the coin.
Correct.
Now, you and I got into this conversation. When we got into this conversation yesterday, I could feel it. You were just like, I'm about to tell these men what this place is. So this is the thing. I want you to start talking about that, because when you said that men have their place, this is something that I always feel some type of way about, because I feel like this is something a woman can say, but if a man says a woman has her place, you sexist pig. It's like, but no, I didn't even get a chance to say what the place was. No, you're still a sexist pig. You can't say shit. So let's get there, because I know you want to say.
Okay, so when I speak of, and I said I'm not going to be PC at all. So when I talk of and men having their place and women having their place, right? Even though we are both human, even though, to me, we're somewhat equal, even though, there's word scientist says that women and men, we process differently. Who knows? I just know how I process, and I know how my female friends, my family, my male friends, my male family members process things, and it's quite different, But when I speak of men knowing their place, it once came from a place of me thinking like, okay, a man should take care of everything. A man should take care of the bills. A man should take care. Because that's the upbringing I come from. A man should take care of the bills. The man should do all the yard cleaning. A man should do all of the hard things, the hard stuff when it comes down to in a relationship or a marriage with a woman. But then I learned as years goes on, I said, wow, I have this man that does everything. Paying bills, doing all of the yard work, taking the trash out. These are things I was taught. These are things you see on television. This is what men do, right? That's all I know. But I also learned that he was a tool. I looked at him as a tool. And I didn't understand. Okay, here's this tool here. Why aren't you doing this? Because if they turned around and said, Sacred, go over there and cook me dinner now, I'm be like, are you, what? I'm going to have attitude. But I'm going to be honest, there were times I would be very like, why didn't you do this? I need you to go and pick this up. Or I need you to go, my tire is flat out there. You said you was going to change it. Why haven't you done it? And as a woman, you get that from a man. You have that. That's what they know. That's what we were taught. But then that's when the emotional and the mental, the spirituality comes in at. It's vacant. It's like, it's nothing. And so when I say, as of 2020, a man's place, to me, a man's place is to be somewhat similar to what my place would be, is to be a confident, secure, knowing that he's just as human as I am. And I can't look at him as a tool. If I know how to fix the sink myself, if I can sit up online all day and look at YouTube constantly, and I have a little, green thumb, and I know how to fix certain things, and it's just a little twist with the sink, I can do that myself. That's not going to make me a lesser woman or a lesser human. And I wish in my previous relationship that I could have looked at him less as a tool and more as a human. And I probably would have received my answer, how come he wasn't so emotionally engaging, spiritually engaging with me? Because after he's done everything that we want the man place to do, a man is exhausted. He's tired. The last thing he's trying to do is, now after he didn't cut your how many acres of grass and ran up and down the store for you, then something that you forgot to tell him to get for you, he has done all of that. There's no man or woman that will have the mental capacity and the patience to sit there, and I talk a lot, and hear me do this for the next 2 hours. Because now I need you to be my confidant. I need you to be emotionally connected to me. Now I don't understand why you're not. So when it comes down to this place thing, it's subjective. And I feel that whatever his strength is, whatever your strength is, you look at it, I feel you shouldn't worry about what everybody else is doing. If it works for you, it works for you. Where I'm weak at, he might be strong. Where he's weak at, I might be stronger at it. And to have a mutual understanding and respect for one another. But I'm going to be honest, even today after saying all of that, conditional behavior is something serious, because I don't mind, I'm of age. And
you are not of age, girl. Get out of here.
I'm really of age, okay? And all my life, I have been taught that a man he's the one that comes in. He's supposed to take care of everything, the bills. If something needs to be fixed around the house, he's supposed to do it. He's supposed to cut the grass. But I never was taught about a man being there for me mentally. And we both know, I'm not going to sit up here and speak for all women, even though some women listen to this may disagree, but I'm not crazy. A woman, period, just like, because you're human, we are emotional. And also, if you're not emotional, you're emotional during that time of the month. So we're emotional. What human doesn't want to be looked at as human and talk to an understanding? There's no better understanding and peace and feeling. It's better than money when you can talk to someone and they can actively listen and actively communicate with you. And it helps a lot of stress. It helps you with your anxiety, your depression, your moods, your day, all of that. So when we look at men and we say, okay, you are only meant to do this, I think it's really unfair sometimes for us to also question some of them to not understand why they're unable to be emotionally available for us. So as women, we have to make a choice and figure it out, and also look at how we handle ourselves and how we talk to them, how we talk to men, and I'm going to be honest because I'm guilty of it. Sometimes we talk at men and not to them.
Amen. I'll say amen. Amen on that.
I've been honest with you. We talk at them, we don't talk to them. And that's why some don't listen. Not that he doesn't listen. It's just that you have to know how to communicate with him. And every man is different. But I'm going to keep saying it. If we're constantly looking at him as his pockets, what he can give, what he can fix, and how in the world can someone, again, have the emotional capacity to be there for you? And we know a lot of us are undiagnosed bipolar, so it's a lot. It's a lot on a man. It really is.
You're saying some things that I think is really interesting because I once had a conversation a long time ago with a therapist, and they were saying that every relationship is different, yes. And every need is different. And that's one thing that we don't generally or aren't generally truthful about. We're not really always truthful about what it is that we need or want. I can speak for myself. I've been in relationships whereas the woman I was with, her thing was security. I need a man to be able to make me feel secure. Yeah. Through my experiences, through the things I've been through, through the lessons I learned, I realized something that no amount of money, no amount of physicality, no amount of anything is going to be enough to make an individual feel secure if they don't feel secure within themselves. I can't tell you how many arguments I had, how many debates, and then they would get really ugly. I remember being told that, you're not a man because you can't do that, and the third. And I'm like, okay, nobody is going to be able to do that for you, because the moment that man that has the money dies, goes away, is tired, you're not secure again.
Absolutely.
And
what have you learned?
Exactly. And I've seen this with buddies of mine. I never forget, a buddy of mine said something. He said, you got to train a woman like you would train a puppy. I said, if you got to train a woman, I've known puppies. I've had pets. Like, if you think that, then you think less of yourself. I'm like, because you got a mom.
Absolutely.
But these are things that we get from, I'll say, our outside elders, and when I say outside elders, I don't mean necessarily like our family, maybe for some it might be, but a lot of times, we get them from the street, we get them from friends, we get them from other individuals that are just as, I will say, emotionally crippled as us. Yeah. And that's, what we're really dealing with. It's very rare. Now I can have a conversation with a woman and say, and it's like, what is it that you're looking for? And hear her say, well, I'm looking for this, that, and the third. Okay. Because my thing is, I always tell individuals, I'm looking for a partner. I was very surprised how many people did not know what a partner really was. Yeah. I'm like, a real partner. They're like, yeah, I'm looking for a partner too. No, you're looking for a funder. Yeah. You're
that's what you're looking for, a maintenance man.
I wish you could have been there. Some of my friends have seen me. They say I'm the hard one. They're like, you're the one that makes people cry. I'm like, no, because I'm truthful. I'm like, having been through certain real life experiences now, I don't find that it's worth it to sit around and just pause and be like, yeah, let's be cute together. Yeah, let's see, because then that shit falls by the wayside, it does over time.
It does.
What would you say is the most important thing, one of the most important things? I think you already touched on it when you said about communication. But what would you say is one of the most or second most important things that we need to do in order to change this back and forth that we have as men and women? Because this is really, as they say, a battle of the sexes, and it doesn't need to exist. So how can we actually begin to make a truce and come together?
Stop looking at damn Lifetime. Stop looking at social media thinking that your life's supposed to be what you watch on cable or what you're reading or what you're seeing on social media. That stuff is fictitious. That's a whole script on television. I mean, it's made that way because they know there's millions, and I'm going to agree. I see all these comments out here from women, and I'm not bashing women, but I'm going to go there. Oh, I don't need a man. I don't need this. Okay, sis, well, stop talking about it. Stop talking about it. Stop talking about it. But you constantly posting all these subliminal memes and on every social media website, social dating website there is. Because you don't need a man. What's going on? Be honest with yourself. And like you said, you got to be honest with yourself. And again, that goes back to what I said earlier. You have to be honest. If you're not honest, it's not going to stop. It's not going to fix. If nothing changes, nothing changes. So I'm not a scientist, I'm not a psychologist, but it's proven that with our minds, kind of like being a psychological liar, where you're constantly on social media all day and you're feeding that poison in your mind constantly, subconsciously, you're starting to believe this is what your relationship's supposed to be like. And it doesn't. Yes, relationships are different. But it was even more different? People.
Hey, you. With the earbuds in their ear. Have you ever wanted to start your own podcast? When I was trying to get my podcast off the ground, I had a lot of questions. How do I record an episode? How do I get my show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all the other places people like to listen? How do I make money from my podcast? The answer to every one of these questions is really simple. Anchor. Anchor is a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing your podcasts. Best of all, it's 100% free and ridiculously easy to use. And now Anchor can match you with great sponsors too, so you can get paid to podcasts. I like to upload my episodes directly to the app and then promote. So if you've always wanted to start a podcast, make money doing it. Go to anchor.fm/start to join me and the diverse community of podcasters already using Anchor. That's anchor.fm/start. I can't wait to hear your podcast.
Every man doesn't know how to fix this thing. Every man is not going to be making six figures. And if you're looking for a man to make six figures, even though if a man that's making six figures may not, most of them, a lot of times don't really, I wouldn't say they don't care, but it's common to see them date or marry women that don't work or don't make as much money because, okay, whatever. But let's get back to you, sis. This is what you want, and I have no problem with that. But what are you making? What are you providing? What if something happened to him and he lost his job, especially during this pandemic? Are you going to leave him? What's going to happen to you and your house and your children? What are you bringing to this partnership? What are you bringing to this union? So again, to go back to how we can fix this, accountability, being honest with yourself, knowing that what you see on television, what you see on social media does not identify, it does not speak on what a man's supposed to be. Every man isn't macho as we think what macho is supposed to be. I met some of the most, and I'm a geek, I love nerds and geeks. They're some of the most masculine men to me. Whereas another woman may look at them and say, oh, he's soft. I'm like, girl, no, he's not, very alpha man, to be honest with you. But every man is not this picture that we have been taught to what a man supposed to look and be like. And it's sad. And again, I like to use myself as an example. I don't sit back and talk about other people and say what they do. I put myself in it. I was once that woman. Like, I thought that if a man didn't talk with a heavy voice, it would turn me off. And we understand how, a man having a heavy voice can kind of, attract women. Just like how a woman that's curvy or a woman has her favorite perfume can attract a man, and we get all of that. But I had to learn, just because he has a higher speaking voice, that he's still a man. So we have to stop, together, men and women, we really have to stop making up this idea. It's like, it reminds me of that movie Weird Science.
Now you are dating yourself.
Now you're dating yourself. Making up this weird idea of what we think this man, this woman's supposed to be. And what I find hilarious, okay, well, Lotus, are you telling me I shouldn't have expectations? That's not what I'm saying. Yes, if you want a certain type of man or woman, go for it. But be honest. When this man or woman comes to you, how can you compliment them? So if you like a man or woman to communicate and listen to you and work hard, that makes no sense if you lazy and you know, like, it just makes no sense to me. And don't get me wrong. Some people, again, well, my husband didn't care that I didn't cook. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. That doesn't happen often. Okay. So you have to be not necessarily just honest with yourself to attract someone else. You need to be honest with yourself and be better for yourself, because when you're better for yourself and you grow for yourself, it's going to automatically benefit the person that you're trying to be with. And it's more of a smooth connection across the board. So, you know, it's just, and it boggles my mind, because these are things I expect for teenagers or young adults, like up to 25.
Right.
You know, these are people my age and older that still got everything that they want out of a relationship, out of a man, off of social media. And it's never going to work that way. You have to meet people where they're at, and then you go from there and see what you can build. Because when you date a person's potential, that's a train wreck. That's what you think he or she can be. But what if they don't become that? And then it's mighty selfish of you to look at somebody and say, I think you could become a lawyer. But what if he wants to be a maintenance man?
That's true.
So you can't, I understand seeing the greatness of someone, you embrace it, but you give them the option to make their own move. So we have to respect one another, but it's not going to work if you don't respect yourself. Because a person that respects themselves on an honest level, on a human level, they get it. They only surround themselves with people that's like them as far as energy-wise. They're not going to look at you and say, you're supposed to be this because this is what I want. Well, if that's what you want, then you need to go over there, because I'm not her.
You know what, Sacred, we're getting ready to end it right here.
No problem.
I wanted
It's been
to
awesome.
thank you for being our guest, but you said something that made me think about, you're talking about that what we see in a person, you know, that potential that we get wrapped up in, you know. And somebody asked me recently, they said, what is the story of the De La Fit podcast? And I had to think about it. And the story was, it started from my ex-girlfriend telling me that she thought I was too old for potential. One of the most, I'll never forget that, you know. And living through that, you know, it changed me. It changed me a lot, because I had to grow as a person. I mean, it took me, it was a shock, because, you know, we split. It wasn't the best split, but you know, it made me think, what do you want to become?
Right.
So whatever potential she did or didn't see in me, it's funny, because at the end, it's really what all that matters is what we see in ourselves.
That's it. That is
Sacred Lotus, everybody.
I appreciate you. Thank you so much for having me.
So I just want to thank everybody for tuning in, and I want to apologize to those out there. I didn't prepare you all for the interview. We shot this interview probably in July of 2020, when the mandated shutdowns had just eased up and went to green in Philadelphia. And we moved back into our studio. So what you're hearing is in the sound quality, there's a stark difference. We had just moved in, and we also were in the process of changing over to a video podcast as well. So there's actual video footage of this, of the interview with Sacred Lotus and myself, which will be on our Roku station. We're still in the editing process of this, but the video quality and the audio quality is starkly different because you're hearing me in a larger studio. But the going back and forth between shutting down, opening up, we're gonna open up, we might be shutting down. That's what was taking place during the early parts of 2020. So that's why there's a stark difference in audio quality where you hear Sacred Lotus talking from her studio versus mine. The Roku show will be placed up as soon as, again, we are able to edit down everything. Just to let you all know that I myself do a lot of this show on my own, and I have people I work with. I have many hats, a lot of hats. Not only do I do this weekly show, but I also work for the Free Library of Philadelphia as a physical literacy specialist. So with doing that and the demands of that, as well as being a trainer, being a content creator as well, there are a lot of hats to maneuver, and a lot of the individuals that help me with this show to produce it, they also have a lot of hats that they wear, family related and job related. So, and the pandemic has changed for all of us. Not only am I just doing the things for my normal job, I've had to pick up other skills and responsibilities when it comes to family. So I'm saying all of this for people when they see our advertisement and they say, well, we thought that the show on Roku was going to be on this date. You have to bear with us because the pandemic has forced us all to kind of maneuver around to do different things. So individuals that I may contact who are doing editing or helping to do editing or do sound, their family might have gotten sick, or maybe they're in a place where they can't get into their studio. Me, I am now, my room is my studio. And if you watch, when you see the show, it's drastically changed more into an office / studio than a room. That's just the nature of the game. So I just wanted to let everybody know that, and to kind of apologize for not warning you prior to why there's an audio difference. But regardless of that, the interview was stellar, and I want to thank Sacred Lotus for coming on to the show. She is one of the most genuine, sincere, beautiful guests. I love having her on the show because she speaks with such a sincerity and a power and a strength that comes from experience. And I encourage everybody to check out her show, Sacred Lotus Radio, which can be found on SoundCloud. I do believe she does a live stream on Facebook as well as live.me. And she is a phenomenal. Also, I think she does a live show on Tagged. And she's phenomenal. She is phenomenal with her ability to narrate and to have discussions and to talk about things with such a conviction and power. So please follow her. And I thank all of you for joining us today. I hope that you all like this show. I would encourage everybody, please reach out to us. I love to hear from fans and listeners. You can reach out to us if you want to express something. You can go to our website, which is www.delafitpodcast.com. There's a comment section. I would encourage everybody to use it. If you want to learn more about the show, learn about myself, please go there. If you are a person who wants to be a potential guest and you're like, man, I have something powerful inside of me I want to express that can help humanity, it's a passion that I have, please, you can hit us up at you can hit us up at delafit13@gmail.com. That is our email. And we are always interested in talking to individuals and learning new experiences and new information that can help push humanity into a more prosperous and positive area of life, because that's what we're about, the 360 degrees of holistic fitness and health. With that being said, I hope everybody enjoyed this show. Tune in next week, same time, same place, for another episode of the De La Fit podcast. As always, please love yourself. Love yourself first. If you love yourself and treat yourself good and really are empathetic with yourself, guess what? I know you're going to do your best to try to treat others that way, because it takes a lot of work to do that, to love yourself and to do the best for yourself. So with that being said, please be happy, be happy, be healthy. Have a great day. Peace.
You've been listening to the De La Fit podcast. Ta-ta for now.